Hey everyone, Fusman coming at ya, and hope this video finds you doing super well. So for the past few months now, I've been pretty much non-stop looking at real estate in the Bay Area during this illness, which has been a pretty interesting challenge. One, just because buying real estate in general requires a ton of research up front before you even get through the full process. And two, buying during an illness is pretty weird just because there aren't any open houses that you can take a look at. The market's jumping around like crazy, interest rates are all over the place, and it's kind of, because there aren't a lot of sales, it's kind of hard to get a gauge of whether the market is going up or down, which is, all of that put together, been a pretty interesting challenge. But that all said, I think VR would have been extremely valuable, especially during a pandemic, to kind of ease this whole overall process of home buying. But even excluding the pandemic, I think VR would be incredibly valuable as a tool to kind of speed up this process. To that end, I wanted to go ahead and document in this video what is the current state of VR for real estate, as well as kind of, given that, what I'd like to see moving into the future, so that it's something that I or anyone else could eventually use to inform their home buying decisions and save themselves a bunch of time. And I think to that end, VR can be so useful. And it's kind of crazy to me also because not many people are talking about it, which is, especially if you just go Google it, not much pops up, or at least not much interesting stuff pops up. So that's why I wanted to go ahead and document that in this video. And let me know in the comments below, have you ever tried to use VR for real estate? Have you ever thought about buying a property? Happy to answer any questions about that to the best of my ability down in the comments below. But with all of that said, let's go ahead. I'll jump into my laptop here, show you guys a quick demo of where everything is right now. So I wanted to just show a quick example here on my laptop. If you go to any website, Realtor.com, Zillow, any place that is showing real estate, a lot of them have already integrated a really sick feature what allows you to go and view properties in 3D, provided the homeowner has already gone ahead and scanned it. So if we take a look at this one here, none of these are things that I'm actually looking at. I just picked this out as a random example. You'll see that this has a 3D view. Now this is built with WebGL specifically, and the really cool part is this is actually a 3D scan done by a company called Matterport. They've been around the space for quite some time, but they quite literally, they'll go to your home, and I'll show in a different property what the actual rig looks like. But they'll just go through and scan this thing. It's a different view from the floor plan. But then, yeah, they have kind of these kind of points where they've done the 3D scan, and then they kind of merge everything together. It's a really awesome technology, and it's fairly affordable, and they've actually gone ahead and even done a beta where if you go to the website now, I think they have an iPhone app that you can go ahead and download, and that will go through and you can scan your whole property, drop that onto one of these websites, and any potential buyer can now go through and see that property, which is especially useful during a pandemic. Some of these also support this VR mode. That's different from virtual tour, so keep that in mind. But the VR mode here is quite literally, and to be honest, I don't even know why these are two separate modes and they can't merge them together, but that'll pop up this button here. You can go ahead and jump into, basically using WebXR, you can go ahead and jump into any supported headset. So looks like Quest is supported here, Go, Cardboard. I tried getting this to work with Steam VR, but I wasn't able to. Maybe there's some setting I was missing. I didn't spend that much time looking into it. It could also just be a limitation with WebXR, I'm not really sure. But anyway, some of these do support VR mode, which I think is really cool. This is a different property here that I just want to go to show, and more just to kind of emphasize that a lot of people are already doing this, which is incredible. This is what the camera looks like. It just so happens this place had a mirror, so which is why I brought it up. But it's basically kind of a kind of similar to a 360 camera, except they also have the technology with depth sensors to go ahead and pull in that 3D content so they can merge them together with photogrammetry-esque technology. I guess it's not really photogrammetry because they have a depth sensor, but you get the idea. And yeah, I mean, this already exists, and thousands upon thousands of properties already have this type of technology and they've already done 3D scans of properties, which is really, really awesome, actually. So I think to summarize, the current state is a lot of properties are being able to be 3D scanned, which in my opinion is the hardest part, having those 3D scans of and having a wide library of them. But now we're kind of at the state where we have this kind of basic VR integration with cardboard support. We don't really have Steam VR support. A lot of incompatibility across the spectrum of headsets, which is more of a VR problem than anything else. But I think from a UX perspective, a lot of this can be streamlined. And moving into the future, I think, one, we want this kind of more seamless approach to jumping into a bunch of these different properties. But I think from a consumer point of view, there are a few different things that you would want. So one, this is great for kind of individuals to go through and browse in VR. But what I'd love to do is kind of have a queue of, like, say, 40 or so different properties that are all 3D scanned. And as I'm kind of considering and exploring different things, I can just kind of multiplayer sync up with my realtor. He jumps into a VR headset, I jump into a VR headset, and boom, we're walking through properties, kind of learning what are the do's and don'ts, what makes something really good, what's something that could use improvement in, instead of kind of having to do that kind of from property to property to property and kind of doing that in person. Especially in this early process that I'm currently in, it's incredibly valuable to see 10s, 20s, 30s different properties to kind of really get that sense of what makes everything unique. And then you can start kind of building that list of things that kind of you would categorize as things that are deal breakers for you, which, trust me, is super important when you're trying to prune down a list of different properties you're considering. We have these 3D scans. I think another really interesting component would be, let me bring in my own furniture and let me kind of go ahead and drag and drop and kind of customize what it would feel like to live in a unit. Let's say drop a flat screen TV somewhere, drop your own table somewhere. Even if you don't have your own 3D scans, maybe have a few different selections of furniture that I could go ahead and drag and drop through a property, just to kind of get a sense of what it would feel like to be in this property and live there, as opposed to kind of the stock furniture that you typically see with most modern day showings. And I think the last touch for people who are into kind of renovations and kind of sprucing up a property that might be a little dated, it would be great to do some simple things, like instead of having this carpet that's in the place, let's replace that and virtually and see what it would look like with laminate flooring, maybe different colors of laminate, and kind of really get that feel of what that would look like even before you make a home purchase. And then another really easy one would be painting, or even lighting for that matter, kind of adding in maybe some recessed lighting, seeing what that feels like, or maybe adding in just kind of other lampshades around the property, just to kind of get that look and feel for what it could really be like to upgrade this place to be A, something that's a lot more livable, or B, something that you want to call your own. And that can all be done virtually even before you make the home buying process, which I think is incredibly valuable, actually. Last but not least, I think if you want to go really fancy, you could kind of this might be a little more complicated, especially with some of these rooms baked into a 3D scan, but it'd be really cool to just kind of break apart a kitchen or break apart a bathroom and kind of imagine what it'd be like to completely redo an entire room, not just dragging and dropping furniture, but kind of actually replacing appliances, moving around appliances, kind of all the crazy stuff that you would want to do to really kind of up the value of a property, but being able to do that virtually and just kind of seeing what that might feel like. And from a consumer perspective, all of those would be so valuable, especially when you can do that at scale with several different properties that you're considering. And it would just make the whole real estate home purchasing process so much more easy and more streamlined. Like from my perspective, I'm currently about like 6 months into doing all the research and kind of figuring out what I want to do with whatever unit I end up buying. But I would imagine with VR, I could have maybe cut that time in half. And I think that really goes to show how impactful VR could be for real estate. Of course, I don't imagine this to magically pop out of nowhere. I think this is going to be taking some time to work through, but it's one of those things that I don't see a lot of people talking about, and I kind of want to see more conversations around, because I think there's such huge potential for VR to really revolutionize how people go about buying homes in the first place. And that's something that I really can't wait for, if I'm being completely honest. So yeah, those are just some of my takes on what I think VR could do for real estate. I'd love to know down in the comments below what you guys think. Have you ever tried using VR for real estate? Whether that's for renting, some of this even applies to renting. I'm more talking about this in the purchasing lens, but I could definitely imagine if you're looking for a place to rent, this could be incredibly valuable. Or just kind of other things that I haven't talked about, love to know down in the comments below. But I think that'll wrap up this video, so thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. It's been Fuse Man, and I'm signing out.